Welcome to the MamasteFit YouTube channel. In this workout, we're going to be doing a post-run or post-running waist mobility cooldown. Hey, my name is Gina. I'm a perinatal fitness trainer and birth doula and mom of four, and I just ran the Walt Disney Goofy challenge, which is the half marathon followed by the marathon the very next day at 16 months postpartum. And I want to share with you the mobility flow that I was doing after both of my races to help me recover from both of them, because running a marathon with a half marathon the day before is definitely not for the faint of heart. In addition to running the half and the full, I was also doing full days in the parks with my kids, and so some of these mobility movements I was doing while we were waiting in line or while we were doing things within the park as well. For this workout, we're going to be doing 1 minute per exercise per side. We're going to start with standing movements and then slowly get closer to the floor. And I'll also talk about some other recovery modalities that I included as I was recovering from these races, because today is like 2 days post-race and I actually don't feel horrible. I feel like I just lifted really heavy the day before, but I can still walk and do all of the mom things. So I like to think that what I did recovery-wise was really helpful for me. For this first movement, we're going to start with a standing hip shift, and we'll start on the left side. So I'm going to stagger my stance with left foot back, and then I'm going to put more weight into my left foot, and I'm going to think about bringing my right hip towards my left knee. So I'm trying to bring these 2 points closer together. More weight in that left big toe. I'm thinking rotate pelvis on that femur, and you can have a slight bend in the knee. So if you're feeling this like tons of hamstring and it feels uncomfortable for you, just add like a slight bend. But I'm really thinking about trying to bring that right hip and that left knee closer together, and it's going to bring you into this deep hip pocket. So if you're wearing jeans, where your hands would go if you put your hands in your pockets is where you're going to be feeling most of that stretch. If you're feeling it more low back, just think slight tuck underneath and then think belly towards the thigh. If you're not feeling it a lot in that glute, just shift weight a little bit more into that left side. So this is definitely one of my favorite post-race stretches to do because it just feels so good back here. And then we're going to switch to the other side in 3, 2, 1. So I'm going to stagger my stance, right foot back, shift more weight into my right foot. I'm going to think left hip towards right knee, trying to bring those 2 points closer, and then keep lots of weight in that right big toe. Same thing if you feel tons of hamstring, just bend in the knee a little bit more. And then we're going to slight tuck underneath of the hips so that you feel it more in that deep hip pocket area. If you want, you can reach left hand towards kind of like right in front of that right foot, just to add a little bit of thoracic rotation. But this has helped to kind of stretch kind of the glute area, the back part of the pelvic floor. When we're running, we tend to favor a lot more like extension when we run, and everything tends to be more forward with it as well. And so sometimes that posterior space of the pelvic floor can get a little bit tighter from kind of that repetitive movement. So these can feel really, really good. Now we're going to come into a lateral hip shift. So we're going to spread the feet out just a little bit wider than hip distance. Both big toes are going to stay down, feet are parallel, and then I'm going to shift my weight towards the left. So I'm going to almost be thinking like sitting back into that left hip. And when I do that, I'm also going to be thinking right hip. I'm trying to bring it towards that left knee. So I'm not just shifting over to the left, I'm having this rotation in my hips, and I'm going to feel it a lot more in kind of that inner thigh and groin area. So we had chest stretch kind of the back half of the pelvic floor with the standing hip shifts, and now we're targeting more of the front half of the pelvic floor with these lateral hip shifts. In addition to all of the surrounding musculature as well, because your pelvic floor does not move in isolation, it moves in response to the surrounding structures. Now let's go ahead and switch to the other side. So now I'm shifting my weight into my right. So thinking kind of like sitting back into that right hip. Left hip is going to be rotating towards that right knee, and both big toes are down. So we're feeling a big stretch in that left inner thigh and groin area. For me, post-run, I prefer more like static type stretches. Like that just feels better for me. One, I'm more fatigued, and so adding in like a bunch of like dynamic movement just feels a little bit too much. And so I like to focus on more just these like kind of static holds post-race. So now we're gonna come into a standing quad stretch. You're just gonna put your hand onto something for support, grab onto your foot, and then we're gonna bring the foot towards the butt. And then we're gonna try to tuck the butt underneath. So I'm not just like pulling my foot back with a big arch. I'm thinking find more of that posterior position and you're gonna feel it a lot more in that quad. Now you can either hold it with the same side hand. You might feel like it's better to hold it with the opposite hand because your quad muscles has 4 different kind of muscles within it. And so you can kind of explore what feels best for you in this. Other things that I found really helpful for me post-race with recovery was I really like doing some sort of warm Epsom salt bath. I've done ice baths before too. I found those helpful. I just didn't have an ice bath available to me after these last races, but I have done that previously and found that to be really nice. But this one I was using more like hot tubs, Epsom salt baths to start with my recovery, and that was like really nice. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So grabbing that foot, bringing it up to the butt, we're gonna tuck the hips underneath to find more of that quad stretch. Either hold it in the same side hand or the opposite, depending on what feels better for you. Other things that I was using for my recovery was some leg compression massagers. So the one that I have is from like Syncom. I'll link it down below. But essentially they're just these like leg sleeves that kind of just like squeeze your legs to help kind of move some of that lactic acid through. I used it after the Army 10 miler and it was like super helpful for recovery. I felt so much better after doing it. And then I use it a ton after that half, and then after the full, I did like 2 or 3 times each. And that was like really helpful for helping my legs. Like I would feel like instantly better after using them. So if you've got a lot of long distance races that you're doing or like runs, I highly recommend getting some sort of like leg compression sleeves because those were really nice. I highly recommend. So now we're gonna come into a calf stretch. So we're just gonna bring this, have a more of that staggered stance, and then we're gonna come forward, and this back foot is the foot that we're gonna be feeling more of a stretch through in the back side of the thigh. You can also think slight tuck underneath as you push the hips forward, and it might bring you a little bit more into that hip flexor as well. Another thing that I used for my recovery was one of those massage guns. So I had like a Theragun that I was using, because the leg compression is really nice, but it doesn't get your glutes. And I think there's probably some that do cover your butt as well, but I don't personally have that one. And I also didn't have it for like my back. And so the Theragun was nice to like get into my glutes, into like my back. I also found like my arms were like really sore from like holding that 90-degree angle for so long. And so I used it on my arms, and that also really helped with recovery. Three seconds, we'll switch to the other foot. Let's go ahead and switch now. So same thing, we're thinking slight tuck underneath. You could think like try to bring that hip towards the opposite knee as well. This can just bring a little bit more intensity towards like the inner side of that calf. You can have the hips be more neutral or even more open to kind of target different parts of the calves as well. During the race, they had a bunch of aid stations that had like Vaseline for chafing, which I had never thought of before. I usually use like Body Glide before my race, but I was very unprepared this time. So I used the Vaseline to help with some chafing that I had during the half marathon. It was super helpful. And then for the marathon, I was using the BioFreeze that they had. They would put it on like little gloves, and I would just like put it on my legs. I put it on my arms when they were getting really sore, and that was just like really helpful also. So definitely like learn what's at aid stations or different stands during your race, and it can be really helpful for you. All right, so now we're gonna move down towards the floor for a half kneeling position. We're gonna target the hip flexors. So I'm gonna tuck my hips underneath and then push the hips forward so I feel more of a stretch in the front kind of hip area. And then if you want, you can add in like a side body stretch to just like really get into this side body area here. If you need to have some support, you can just do this against like a wall or like against a couch or something as well. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So half kneeling position, think tuck the hips underneath, push the hips forward to feel that stretch in the front side of that thigh, and then reach the arm up overhead and kind of lean away to kind of get into that like lower abdomen, side body, into like the lats. After this, we're going to move to a tabletop position, then a seated position, and then we're going to be in like a pigeon pose. So we're kind of getting closer to the floor as we go. So now we're going to come into a tabletop position, and we're going to have the knees be a little bit wider than hip distance. And then I'm going to shift over towards the left. So I'm going to feel more of a stretch in kind of the right inner thigh groin area. And then I'm going to take that right foot and bring the right toes towards the left toes to emphasize more external rotation. So I'm in this kind of shifted position. You can find a little bit more of an arch. And you could hold here if you want to add in some pelvic tilts. Feel free. But I normally like to just do more static holds during my recovery stuff because I'm just tired and I don't want to do more than that. So we've got another like 15 seconds on this side, and then we'll switch to do the other side. So let's switch. Now I'm going to shift my weight over towards the right. Bring that left toe towards the right toes to feel more of that left inner thigh groin stretch. And I'm thinking like trying to bring my left hip towards my right knee. And that's going to help to intensify the stretch in the inner thigh groin area. For me, like post runs, this area is always just like super tired and sore. And so emphasizing like more like groin and inner thigh stretches feels better for me. It's likely because when I stance, so when we put weight into our leg, we find more internal rotation. And I don't always get like good extension when I'm running. And so the front half of my pelvic floor groin external rotators are kind of tighter because I'm not finding that extension for them to stretch them better. So now we're going to come into this 90-90 position or shin box position. So I got one leg externally rotated. So I have my left leg in front, right leg is behind internally. And then I'm going to add again that side body opener. So I'm kind of reaching towards that right side, try to sit my way even between both hips. So for this one, I normally feel a little bit more intensity in my back legs, like kind of groin area, in addition to the side body. You can kind of push down at that more externally rotated leg to try to feel a little bit more there. But the next movement that we do is going to target more of that glute and external rotators. So we got 20 more seconds on this side. We'll switch, and then we're going to finish up in pigeon pose. Try to like really reach away. Take a deeper into that side body. Let's go ahead and switch sides. So now my right leg is in front, left leg is behind. I'm trying to sit even as best I can between both hips, and then add in that side body opener. Try to reach away to really get into that right side body, shifting weight into that left hip to feel it more in that groin. You can try to push that right knee down. And then just breathing into areas that feel a little bit tighter. So for me, this right side body just feels like a brick wall. And so I'm just like really focusing on trying to like expand and stretch in that area. So let's come into a pigeon stretch. We'll start on the left side. If going all the way into pigeon feels like too much, you can do this kind of figure 4 position, and sometimes this is more than enough. We can do more of a seated one where we have the legs kind of stacked on one another and you can come forward. So this is going to be full pigeon. For me, this feels really good, but if you want to come into half pigeon, you can bring that leg behind you and we can come into this one. So you kind of choose your flavor. You figure 4, full pigeon, or half pigeon. I'm going to do full pigeon for both sides because this feels best for me today, but you can explore what feels best for you. I like to do postures that I could hold for a longer period of time so that I can have a little bit more of a release. That feels best for me. Let's go ahead and switch legs. So choose whichever variation felt best for you on the other side. Just repeating on this side as well. So either that figure 4, full pigeon like this. You can do half pigeon. And then just choosing an intensity that feels tolerable for you. We're not trying to go into red or come to a point that's painful. We want to be able to release and to let go into the postures that we're in. If we're clenching or we're at a point that we feel like we have to kind of fight, it's going to be harder for a release. So every exhale, maybe you just sink a little bit deeper into the stretch, but we're not forcing it. And that concludes our post-run or post-race mobility flow. It's what I did after my races to help me recover from the half marathon, to recover after the full marathon that I did the day after the half marathon. In addition to those mobility routines, I was also using things like an Epsom salt bath. I've done ice baths in the past and found that to be really helpful. I had like a Theragun or a massage gun thing to help out with my recovery, in addition to leg compression, plus tons of hydration, eating food, all of the nutritional and recovery stuff as well. So if you want more support to either get back to running in the postpartum, to prepare for a marathon, to do all of the things running, I was a collegiate runner, I run ultra marathons, I run marathons. Running is something that I really enjoy doing and would love to help support you on your journey. You can check out our Return to Postpartum Running program on our website, our Return to Marathon program, just our marathon running program, all on our website at MamasteFit.com, and use code YouTube10 to get 10% off any of our online offerings. All of our running programs include both strength and running work because it's not just about how many miles you can run, it's also about can we feel strong as we return to the pavement as well. And so we would love to support you on your journey to get back to the roads.